Legends of Guitar Volume 1, and I know that was my catalyst that got me going. That opened up the floodgates to the genre, and so you mentioned that was your...
So my whole background with guitar is 12 years old, got super into rock and roll. I loved AC/DC. And that was sort of my gateway into guitar playing. My parents are both musicians, but we had acoustic guitars around the house, and I was, cool. Drawing pictures of SGs and wanting an SG, so that's what I started out on, as an SG.
Same thing too as well.
Yeah, and basically through that I got really into kind of basic hard rock like that. I got really into punk rock, especially later on when I went to college. I got super into hardcore, and the whole time though there was this sort of underlying current of instrumental guitar music. When I was a little kid, my babysitter had the Hawaii Five-0 LP, and I would make him play that song over and over again. And I had a roommate in college who had the Ventures Live on Stage record, and I would play it over and over and over again. So I don't know what the connection was, but at some point I was sitting there rocking out to the same 5 chords, and I thought, I have to get better at this. So I went to the local record store, and wouldn't you know it, they had the best of the Ventures, the best of Dick Dale. I bought those 2 records, and I started learning songs on them. And then there was the Guitar Player Rhino comp, which, not that one, but there's another. The other Rhino comp, which is basically the soundtrack to Pulp Fiction. You can tell he was just listening to that one comp over and over again. But yeah, the Guitar Player Surf record kind of opened my eyes to all these other bands. Simultaneously with that, at Pasadena City College, they did these huge record swap meets. And my college girlfriend introduced me to it. And there was so much cool stuff. And there were guys like Skid Row who would be there selling old surf records. So I got introduced to a lot of other old stuff through that record swap meet, and a lot of what was then current new stuff. I'm talking 93, 94, somewhere in there. So I used to, every month I would go and buy records at that swap meet. And that was sort of the genesis of going. The other music I loved, but I was sort of just a home guitar player all through college. I was a guitar player, didn't think I was good enough to be in a band. And the surf music was the thing where I went from just being a guy playing at home to I have to put a band together.
Dick Dale and the Ventures, that's just the magic combo right there.
I think it's all I knew, like name-wise. Those were the things I knew. I knew the Ventures, obviously, and then Dick Dale was like, well, he's the surf guitar guy, so.
The king of surf.
Yeah, so that's what, in my naive state, I went and got those. And then it was like the floodgates were open, and I'm sure within a month I had a pretty sizable collection of that stuff.
And records to be had too. In thrift stores, and you can find Venture records.
Records and CDs, CDs, Going to Tower Records, God rest its soul. That was my Friday night deal if I couldn't sleep because they were open until midnight, and I would just go and buy everything new that had come out. And it was a period when CDs were still healthy, and there was just tons of stuff
coming in, imports. A lot of stuff from the UK coming in, a compilation.
There was a guy named Elliot Kendall at the Pasadena City College swap meet who I still see around all the time, and he always had phenomenal stuff. Like just air checks from the '60s and stuff. So that was kind of the deal, And anyway, Well, you get a word in.
Yeah, for me with that, the Legends of Guitar Volume 1, what stuck out for me was the Gypsy Surfer and Beyond by the Shantays.
Yeah.
And from there, I'm just thinking, that sound, that splash, that sound, was my catalyst that I gotta do this, you know, I gotta do this. And back then, naive, not knowing that it was a rear tank, but all I had was the onboard on the twin, thinking it's gotta be splashier than that. And then,
it's kind of
the discovery of the tank was just,
Yeah, and you know, it's funny because people get all court sniffy about reverb tanks, but when that reissue reverb tank came out, because you could not find an original to save your life at that point.
Yeah, Fender did a great thing getting that guy out.
They sounded great.
Yeah, even for the, not being a point-to-point, but circuit board driven, it was amazing. Analog to.
I always say, listen, if you're in your bedroom, you can hear the difference and stuff, but when you're on stage, it irons out all the problems. It all sounds good.
Right. Yeah, so that was it.
As Johnny Ramone said, all electric guitars sound the same if you turn them up loud enough.
Past 12, if it existed, that's right. But AC/DC, man, that's cool too, that you dug AC/DC. I still dig that too as well.
I feel like that is probably evident in my rhythm guitar playing, and frankly, in my very basic lead playing.
Malcolm. Yeah.
There's a lot of Angus Young.
Yeah.
There's probably a helping of Greg Hunt.
Yeah.
For some reason, you know, from the Finks, which was a record that really hit home for me. I think, I don't know if you own that LP, fill it up and go. I'll show it to you.
Yeah, please.
And seeing the sleeve, I was just like, it looked like an old record. It was really cool, and it's got great sound quality to it. It's recorded really well. But yeah, you know, off of that comp, the ones that got me, and it's probably evident in the Ghastly ones, it was, I think, the Jesters on that comp, and then, I don't remember what Eddie and the Showman songs on there. It was probably Squad Car.
Squad Car, yeah.
It's like those two songs were the ones where I went,
Those were it. Their speed, their energy.
Yeah.
Heartbeat. That's another track too. When I discovered you guys, thinking, wow, who's the artist that did Heartbeat?
The Avengers.
The Avengers, yeah.
5, 4, 6.
Right.
Sorry, I'm betraying my ignorance.
No worries, man. But yeah, that's just.
That's amazing. That's a great record, and it's really late in the scheme of things.
Right.
You know, it's those guys at that point are playing it for the love of that music.
Right.
It's not because it was what was a hit.
Yeah.
I think they were probably
what was happening at the time.
They were probably trying to get gigs, and other bands are doing Strawberry Alarm Clock and stuff like that. You know,
Groovy stuff.
Yeah.
Which I dig. I like the psych.
Oh yeah.
Psychedelic stuff is just fantastic.
Yeah.
That period.
Being those guys trying to get gigs doing surf music.
Right. And it seems like in the 60s, everybody was trying to follow that train of whatever was happening.
Yeah.
And just go for it. Let's go down that route and experiment and go with where the money's at, I guess, where the gigs are at.
Yeah, but the music at that period, man, you look at the evolution from, let's just say 1960 to 1970, it's a huge amount of change. You know, take a look at the evolution from, let's say 92 to 2000.
Right.
There's not that just exponential growth.
And it seems like a lot of artists were floundering. You know, what do we do? What's the next thing? But it's so true. It just seems that rock and roll goes in these segments of 10 years, and then there's nothing for the next decade, and then there's the next great thing.
Yeah.
And I think Nirvana really might have been one of those culprits that might have.
Well, that's
for rock and roll.
That's really why I picked 92 out.
Right. 91, 92, and that opened the floodgates like the Beatles did when they came to America. And we gotta do that.
My college girlfriend was from Seattle, and she introduced me to a lot of that stuff kind of in the mid to late 80s.
Yeah.
Really broadened my musical awareness because she was super hip to what was going on.
The underground stuff that wasn't
she
radio.
Turned me on to Nirvana and Soundgarden, and but even prior to that, like the Wipers was a big one for me, and that was one that she turned me on to. but she also turned me on to Red Cross and Faster Pussycat. So it was like kind of all over the place.
Yeah, all over the place. And it's a moment in time that will never happen again, as it ever did. So I'm always curious to what the next thing's going to be.
Sure.
But with surf, it just continues, which is great, with all the different generations picking it up and making it their own, which is really, really cool to see that, the love, the passion.
Yeah, I was talking to some guys about that today, and kind of my realization was, it's outsider music to a certain extent. It's, but I mean that in a real positive way. It's sort of this tight-knit group of people who really love that sound,
right?
In its various forms. Which is really evident because there are 30 bands in Southern California and there are 15 guys who are in all those bands, so,
It's sharing love, in bands. But yeah, in the United Kingdom too, and beyond as well, there's a lot going on in Europe too with surf. That blows me away to this day.
Which is kind of cool because they have a strong instrumental kind of tradition, but it's not necessarily American surf music.
It's their way of doing it with their cultural vibes, their flavors of the background that they're coming from, and adding it. It's amazing, man. It's amazing.
Have you seen Lay Agamemnon?
I have not.
Oh man, they're really good. Just look them up on YouTube.
Yeah,
they're really good. Yeah. They did some gigs here locally.
Right.
They were outstanding.
Speaking of gigs, I'm glad everybody's being able to gig and go out tour.
For now.
Indeed, yes. That in these uncertain times, I hope things will get better for the world in general.
I have good friends who are professional musicians, and it's definitely been better.
That's good. That's good to hear.
I don't know that it's pre-pandemic level, but
but it's a start.
The guys are able to get out and hit the road and do gigs.
So Garrett, tell us, we got these amazing pieces back here. And have Garrett fill us in on this Bandmaster here.
Well, I don't. So the Bandmaster is the Magic amp that was on actually all of this stuff except for A Haunting You Will Go, which was a blackface dual Showman. Turned up really, really, really loud. But yeah, this is all over Target Draculon and Unearthed. And it pretty much was my main live amp too. And then I used a Champ a lot also, I think that was pretty much it. I don't, believe it or not, I do not have any Ghastly guitars except for that Ventures 2.
Do you still have that red sparkle?
No. In fact, I took all the parts off of that, and there's a guy in South America who bought the body and the neck.
Oh wow! So I think it was a beauty, man. It sounded great.
It weighed 1,000 pounds.
It did.
Yeah, it was a 90s era Mosrite body, either from Jonas Ridge or it was an Ed Elliott body. I bought it from Ed Elliott. And it was just really heavy.
It was heavy as a Les Paul.
It was heavy.
Heavy. It was heavy.
It was lead, and Mosrites don't weigh very much, so I don't know what it was about that particular guitar.
And then the black one, that San Halsey and Hearst, do you still have that?
So that wasn't black, it was blue.
It was blue.
It was super dark blue. I do not have it anymore. I sold it to a guy who worked at Yamaha Guitars.
Okay.
And then I saw it for sale on eBay years later. If you ever see, doesn't say the Ventures on it, if you see one of those, it's a really great looking body, because I think it was an older body that got recycled.
Recycled, yeah.
But on the back, there's a chip about that big out of it, where it's red sparkle underneath. So I think what it was a botched sparkle finish, maybe from an amp show or something, and it sat around for years, and then they just
reused the old.
Yeah, because this gets really nerdy, but the contours over the years with Mosrites, they're really lush in the first like 64.
Yeah.
And the bodies get thinner and the cars start getting less rounded. And so
that's
this
all.
whole body.
That's all by hand, right? They use templates, right?
Well, they use a shaper blade.
Okay.
You know, basically like a giant router bit that they did the
shape out of the contour.
Yeah.
The German carve, they call it, right?